Hello, welcome back. This video is recorded for network analysis and specifically for Gephi. So you are seeing the layout of my desktop using Gephi. Let's get started. So for the first-time users, I do suggest you open a new project instead of a existing one. But there are some built-in samples that comes with your Gephi, and we can simply start with the first one. Okay, and just click OK, and your view might be different because I have opened it for several times and I've made some edits. But this possibly will be the first project you ever opened, right? Let's be familiar with the interface of Gephi. Okay. There are three tabs at the very top of it. The first tab is the overview, and it is the most commonly workplace for us, unless we are trying to look at the data. And for the overview tab, we have appearance tab, a layout tab, and filters and statistics tab, and a queries tab. There is a little button over here at the bottom of the page where you can click on it, and it will give you another control of how you view the global. Global means the overview of it, and specifically edges and the labels. Okay. If you flip the panel to statistics, there are some terms we were introduced in class, and they can be calculated automatically by Gephi. For example, if we would like to know the average degree, we can just click on the button Run. It gives us a report of the distribution of the degree. Okay? And of course, if you would like to know the closeness centrality, the betweenness centrality, and other centrality measures, good way is to click on the diameter button. The diameter button actually allows the calculation of two centrality measures and also eccentricity. Sometimes you can choose whether you would like to run a directed or undirected measure, but in this case, since our data is undirected, we only have the default undirected. But for other resources, saying that you have a directed data sets, then possibly you can choose. Oh, actually, let me run it. So you will be given a report or the betweenness centrality distribution, closeness, and eccentrality would be presented here. And there are a few other measurements: page rank, modularity, connected components. You can always run. And the next set is the clustering coefficient. I'll recall what do we mean by the clustering coefficient. It simply tells us whether some of the nodes are naturally grouped together. So we can also run those reports, and let's just click run again, okay, and close the reports. So what you can see here is that after the button has been clicked, there will be a number, overall number presented here. Okay. And another place you can look at the results is using the data laboratory tab to see the data workspace. If I switch the tab, and there will be a Excel-like tables presented here. Okay. You can choose between nodes and addresses to view. For nodes, there will always the first column ID, the second column label, and for the others, those are the results. Because you click those calculation buttons, those are the results, being the results of the statistics. Okay, modularity, degree, eccentricity, closeness, centrality, for each of those data points. And for edges, the defaults are source column and the target column, and you will need to specify whether those connections are directed or directed. You can assign weight, but the weight attribute is not required. So let's go back to the overview. Okay, there are some ways to customize how the graph present itself. For example, we can choose the layout in different kinds of layout that's built in. Let's use expansion. Okay, it expands the graph a little bit. You can click this button multiple times and it will give you a more expanded version of it. It simply moves those dots or those nodes away. Okay. And the next one I would like you to try is the force atlas. Your graph may just start moving around. It may just cluster like here, and there will be a progress bar at the bottom of it. It shows that it's still calculating and moving. We can simply click the stop button to stop it, and let's try a different one. You can see that the graph starts to move again. Okay. And for the default configurations, you don't really have to change. But as you became a more experienced user, you may want to change them. Let me click stop again. The one that I personally really like is the Yifang Hu layout. Let me click and show this. Okay. And I may want to expand it again. So expand it. Let you see. It gives me a pretty layout, I would say. So the next step is whether I would like to show the labels. If not, then that will be just it. If yes, I can zoom this out, zoom in using the zoom bar at the bottom of it. And if I switch to the labels tab, there's a place I can ask for labels. Okay, node labels or edge labels. In this case, I would like to see what the nodes are representing, and I would like to see the labels. I can customize the font size, the font color, and the size. And also I can specify whether I would like to have a scaled, a fixed size, or node size that's determined by, the size of the node. I can use unique colors. I can specify different colors, and I can specify that I want to hide the nodes that I am not selected. In this case, if I select those one, it shows me who it is, and I can uncheck this box to show or labels. For now, I will just uncheck the button. I don't want to see all those labels here. And another place I can customize my appearances is here in the appearances panel. There are two tabs we can switch from and the two. The first one is the nodes. It allows us to customize the appearance of the nodes. Okay. We can assign unique color. We can say specify which color is for which attribute, and we can say, assign a color according to the degree. The differences between partition and ranking is that the ranking allows us to assign colors to all nodes, while partition allows us to assign a color to specific nodes. Okay. Let me assume that I am going to use the ranking. The little button here allows me to choose a different color scheme. For example, I would like to choose a more colorful one, this one over here. Okay. And I would like to see my graph changes the node color according to the betweenness centrality. Those are results calculated from the statistics. So we will always want to calculate or run the statistics first. Now I would like to apply. See, the color scheme has been changed, right? And I would like to choose a different color scheme, possibly this one, and run it again. Another place we can customize is to customize the size of it. There are 4 buttons over here, and it is sometimes really hard to remember which button represents what. But once your mouse is hover over it, it shows you the label. Now I am choosing the size. Okay. Now I can specify a unique size for all my nodes, or I can use the ranking feature again. Choose, this time I would like to see the degree. Okay. I keep the minimum size 10, maximum size, the default is 50, I think, but this time I would like to have a maximum size of 25 and apply. If I don't like the size at all, I can change it to the default 50 and see. If I want it larger, I can change it to 100. So I'm making the size proportional to degree. And we can change, possibly we would like to say the closeness centrality, right? Which dot or which nodes sits in the center of the graph. Let me apply this again. You may notice that there are changes. The bigger the size is, we say this node sits more closer to the center of the graph. Next one, we can also customize the edges. We can also specify the color of the edges by using here the ranking, the weight. Okay. Usually, if you have a weight column here specified in the table of the edges, it will allow you to customize the color of the edges using the attribute weights. We can specify a different color scheme and apply. So you will see, yes, right? It changes from a light weight to a heavy weight here. And if there were nothing to choose from, it will be just a blank drop-down menu. Those are the basics of using Gephi. Next, I will introduce how to start a new workspace, a new project, and close this. And it will ask, would you want to delete this workspace? If you have saved your work, click Save. Then you, of course, will say yes, but otherwise be really cautious. Okay, I don't want to save this, so I will just click Yes. Next, I will start a new project, new workspace. And normally we already have some data. right? So the first step will be import data. And be really cautious that open and import are two different tools. Open means you are opening a project, opening a database. But import means that you are importing data from an external, say, database, a spreadsheet, and make it a new project based on it. Okay. In this case, today we are going to practice import a spreadsheet. Okay. This is the most commonly seen database we downloaded from the website. Google gives us a spreadsheet-like report. So first, I would like you to open two sheets. Very often you have separate edges and the notes sheets. Of course, you can combine them together in some other cases, but if you will allow more attributes, I do suggest that the notes and edges files being separated. Looking at the notes spreadsheet, it is not really a spreadsheet, but it is a say plain database sheet. You see there are several columns. They are separated by separators. Okay, the first column is ID, the second label, the third attributes. What you can do if you were operating in Excel, what you can do is that we'll learn how to view it properly using text two columns wizard. Now the separator is the semicolon, right? We can do this. But since we are importing this to Gephi, Gephi would know how to do it. Okay. We know there are 7 columns to be imported, and for edges too. Edges always have the source and the target columns as the default. You will need to have at least 2 columns. I'm going back to Gephi. When I click import, it asks me to locate the files. So firstly, I would like to import edges. It does not matter which one comes first. Let me just open the edges first. The next window asks whether this is a edges table or a notes table. Usually it recognizes it correctly, but I would like you to know that you may sometimes need to specify it yourself and indicate which one is the correct separator. In this case, it's semicolon and it's being correctly identified. But in other cases, you would like to choose between a comma, a tab, a space, or a semicolon. I'm going to the next. This is the place that you choose what are the columns you would like to import. The default source and the target are already checked, but you can still specify whether you would like the type and weight columns to be imported. If that looks fine, you just click on the finish button, and it will tell you that there are so many to be imported. And now you may specify whether you would like it to go into a new workspace or you are adding it to an existing workspace. Since now we've opened a new one, we can say we want it to be added, and that's the new. Okay, for the edges, that's the one we've just imported. We can now import the other one, the notes. Okay. Well, strictly saying that if you have the edges, you will already have some notes information. But we still want to know more details of the nodes. And for this reason, we are importing a second one. Let me show that this is the folder, right? And we are selecting the second data and open it. At this time, we would like to indicate that this is a nodes table and do this semicolon separator again to next indicate what are those columns you would like to import, and by default it's the ID and it's the labels that you need to import. Attributes, you can select whether you would like them to be imported. In this case, I would want them to be imported, and I can specify what are those. Are they numbers? Are they text information? For numbers, I can further specify whether they are long numbers or short numbers. Okay, if that looks fine, I will just click on the finish button again. Now let me choose. They should be added to the existing workspace. Okay, be extremely careful. If you are opening a new workspace, then your data won't combine. Now we have the nodes information added. We have the attribute city, latitude, longitude information here. And you can see here for each of the nodes, it actually represents the city information. Let's go back to the overview. So now what you are viewing here, because we have so many nodes and edges, right? By default, it does not look like a graph that we may want. So what we can do is that we can choose a algorithm and run it to see whether it will give us a good view of it. Okay, and do stop. If it doesn't look right, we can expand it. Okay, and also because those connections, they are directed, that's the reason we see arrows here. We can try a different layout, use this but it doesn't look nice either. We can choose no overlap because it does seem a lot of overlaps, right? It will expand the graph even more. If it doesn't look nice, let me try expansion again. Okay, because there are so many data points over here, probably we would like to filter some of the information out. For example, I would like to see not all edges, not all nodes here. Let me see if I can customize the edges. Now I can, if I double click on the edge weight choice, I can apply a filter, and the filter that I actually applied will appear here underneath it. Equals queries. Recall what we define a query in the database management chapter. Right? It simply says we have the data in our database and now we are retrieving them. We can specify we would like to see the weight between 1 and say 1.5 and 3. Okay, and let's apply the filter. We can do that. And we can also apply other attributes. Say we can specify partition. Say we only will want to look at, let me double click this. We only want to look at some of the cities. Then we can do it here. We can create a filter and select the cities we are interested in. Okay, that's what we can do. And also we can also apply to make our graph pretty. We can always apply a different color scheme, we can always use ranking in degree, out degree to see the colors, okay, and apply different color schemes to change the look. And we can always zoom in. Another way to zoom is that if you're using your mouse, then it will be the scroll wheel to help you zoom in and zoom out. If you are using a Mac laptop, then that's the 2 fingers you can do it. For me, if you're using a stylus pen, it is the control button and the click, say the left click, right click on your stylus pen. It may help you scroll, navigate. Okay. Those are the tools that you can use, and of course we can always change the layout here. A good resource is that there are some plugins that you can use to help you get some geographic information, because we say this is a map. Those are the cities and its locations. We can simply apply those latitudes and the longitude information using the Geo plugin. This may not be readily available since you have to install those plugins by looking at the plugin information here and see what being available to you, and you can always import those and install on your end. Just a few clicks away. Okay. I hope this helps.